You missed one meal and you're irritable. 2 meals and you're obsessing about food. 3 days without eating and you trade your car for a sandwich. That's cute. That's your body operating within the normal range of hunger. The kind that's uncomfortable but manageable. The kind that ends when you decide to eat. Real hunger, the kind that lasts 30 days, doesn't make you uncomfortable. It rewires your brain, dismantles your personality, and turns you into something you wouldn't recognize in a mirror if you could stand to look. Day 1 without food feels manageable because you've done this before. Maybe intentionally, maybe accidentally. Your stomach complains, you feel weak. Your brain keeps helpfully reminding you that food exists and you should probably eat some. You ignore these signals because you're tough, because you've fasted before, because surely this situation will resolve itself soon. It won't. And your brain knows it before you do. Day 2, the headaches start.
Your body is switching from glucose metabolism to ketosis, burning fat for fuel, because you're not providing the preferred energy source. This transition feels like someone is driving a spike through your skull from the inside. Your concentration fractures. Simple tasks require effort that should be automatic. You're irritable in ways that surprise you, snapping at people over nothing. And you'd apologize, but you're too focused on the gnawing emptiness that's becoming the central fact of your existence. Day 3 is when it gets interesting. Your body has fully shifted to ketosis, and the acute hunger pangs actually decrease, which feels like victory, until you realize it's just your body getting efficient at eating itself. You're burning fat, yes, but also muscle tissue, breaking down your own structure to keep critical systems running. Your breath smells like acetone. Your thinking is clearer than day 2, but slower, like your brain is running on a processor that's been underclocked to save power, because that's exactly what's happening. Day 5, you stop trusting your own thoughts. Decision-making becomes a minefield because your brain is rationing glucose to essential functions and complex reasoning didn't make the cut. You find yourself staring at nothing for 20 minutes. You start conversations and forget what you were saying mid-sentence.
Your short-term memory's degrading because memory formation requires energy your brain doesn't have to spare. This is when people make the mistakes that kill them. They miscalculate risks. They trust the wrong people. They wander away from shelter because they forgot why staying put mattered. Day 7. You're not you anymore. Your personality, the thing you think of as your essential self, is a neurological process that requires consistent energy input. Without it, you're running a stripped-down version of consciousness. The wit is gone, the empathy is gone, the social awareness that kept you civilized is gone. You're operating on base drives now, and the base drive is food. Everything else is noise. Your friend needs help? Irrelevant unless it gets you food. Your family needs you to stay strong? Abstract concept with no survival value. Food is the only thing that matters, and your brain is redesigning your entire value system around acquiring it. Day 10, the obsession becomes all-consuming. You think about food constantly, not in the way you daydream about dinner when you're slightly hungry. This is pathological fixation. You remember every meal you've ever eaten in vivid detail. You fantasize about food with the intensity most people reserve for sex. You have elaborate imaginary conversations about recipes. This isn't weakness. It's your brain's desperate attempt to keep you focused on the one task that will ensure survival. But it's also breaking your ability to think about anything else. You're becoming a single-purpose organism, and that purpose is eating. Day 14, your body is consuming itself at an accelerated rate. You've burned through easily accessible fat. Now you're metabolizing muscle tissue aggressively, including heart muscle, because your body doesn't distinguish between skeletal muscle you use to walk and cardiac muscle you use to not die. You're weaker than you've ever been. Standing up requires planning. Walking feels like climbing stairs.
Your immune system is shutting down non-essential operations, which is all of them because fighting infection is a luxury and you're operating on a starvation budget. Day 16, you start seeing food that isn't there. Visual hallucinations, olfactory hallucinations, your senses lying to you because your brain is so desperate for input that suggests food that it's manufacturing it. You smell cooking meat when there's nothing. You see fruit on trees that aren't there. These aren't brief flashes, they're sustained, convincing sensory experiences that you have to actively reality check. And reality checking requires cognitive function you barely have. People in this state walk toward mirages. They eat things that aren't food because their brain insists it is. They make decisions based on information their own mind invented. Day 20, your emotional regulation is gone. You cry over nothing.
You rage over nothing. You swing between despair and euphoria based on no external stimulus because your brain chemistry is catastrophically unbalanced. Serotonin production requires nutrients you don't have. Dopamine synthesis is impaired. You're experiencing something close to severe mental illness, except it's purely physical in origin, and it will continue until you eat or until you die, whichever comes first. Day 23. You're experiencing cognitive decline that would alarm you if you had the cognitive capacity to be alarmed. Your long-term memory is degrading. You forget names of people you've known for years. You can't remember what year it is. You lose track of time for hours. Your brain is entering a protective mode where it's shutting down anything non-essential to survival, and unfortunately, you, as you understand yourself, falls into the non-essential category. The organism continues, but the person is mostly gone.
Day 25, your body is eating your organs. Not metaphorically, literally. Protein from your liver, your kidneys, your intestines is being broken down and repurposed. These organs are shrinking, their function is declining. Your liver can't detoxify effectively, your kidneys can't filter efficiently. Your digestive system, ironically, is atrophying because you're not using it and your body's reclaiming those resources for more immediate needs. When you do finally eat, if you do, your body might not be able to process it correctly because the systems required to digest food have been partially dismantled. Day 28, you're in multi-organ failure territory. Your heart is weak, your kidneys are struggling, your liver is barely functional. Infections you would normally fight off easily are now life-threatening because your immune system is non-existent. A simple cut becomes sepsis.
A minor cold becomes a pneumonia. You're not just hungry, you're medically compromised in ways that will take months to recover from if you survive. Day 30, if you're still conscious, if you're still moving, you're an outlier. Many people don't make it this far, not because they've died of starvation exactly, but because they died of the things starvation makes possible. They fell because they were weak. They got sick because they had no immune system. They made a catastrophically bad decision because they had no cognitive function. They gave up because their brain chemistry no longer supported the neurological processes required for hope. Here's what nobody tells you about starvation. It's not a process of slowly fading away while remaining essentially yourself. It's a systematic dismantling of everything that makes you a functional human being. Your personality goes first because it's expensive to maintain and provides no survival advantage. Your memories go next because memory formation and retrieval require energy. Your emotions become unstable because neurochemistry requires nutrients.
Your body cannibalizes itself in a specific order, and the order is determined by what keeps you alive longest, not what keeps you functional or sane or recognizably human. The people who survive prolonged starvation and come back describe it as having been someone else, something else. They describe doing things they can't imagine doing now, eating things that aren't food, hurting people for scraps, abandoning family members who were slowing them down. These aren't moral failures. These are the predictable results of running a human consciousness on insufficient energy for extended periods. You don't remain you. You become a survival algorithm in a deteriorating biological chassis. This is why disaster preparation isn't optional, isn't paranoid, isn't something you can figure out when the time comes. When the time comes, you won't be able to figure out anything because you won't have the cognitive capacity. The time to prepare is when your brain works, when you can think clearly, when you can make rational decisions about storing food and water and supplies.
A 30-day supply of food costs maybe $300. Dried goods, canned goods, rice, beans, anything calorie-dense with a long shelf life. $300 standing between you and the systematic destruction of your mind and body. $300 that will keep you human when everyone around you is regressing to something simpler, something more desperate, something you can't reason with because the part of them that reasons is offline to conserve energy. You think you're tough. You think you'd handle it. You think willpower matters. It doesn't. Hunger at this level isn't a test of character, it's a biological process, and biological processes don't care about your self-image or your determination or your moral framework. Your brain requires approximately 400 to 500 calories per day just to maintain basic function. Deny it that and it starts making cuts. The cuts it makes are you, your personality, your memories, your ability to care about anything except eating. The first 30 days of starvation don't kill you with dramatic flair. They kill you by erasing you piece by piece until what's left isn't capable of survival even if food becomes available. They kill you by making you someone who can't accept help because you can't recognize it. Someone who can't work with others because you can't maintain social bonds. Someone who can't make it to the next day because you can't plan more than 5 minutes ahead. When food systems collapse, when supply chains break, when disaster strikes and grocery stores empty and don't refill, you have 30 days before your brain stops working correctly. 30 days before you become something you won't recognize. 30 days before the person you are gets overwritten by the survival algorithm your body runs when it's desperate. The question isn't whether you're strong enough to survive it, the question is whether you're smart enough to prevent it. Because prevention is cheap and easy and available right now. And recovery, if you make it that far, is expensive and difficult and not guaranteed to return you to who you were before hunger broke your mind and taught you exactly how little of you is actually essential when your body's making hard choices about what to keep and what to discard. Stock food, not someday, now, before your brain is too broken to understand why it matters.